Eora is a mystical world where mortals experience cycles of reincarnation overseen by various gods. The Aedyr Empire, blessed by Woedica the Burned Queen, has recently fallen into turmoil with revolts, famines, and challenges to authority as their goddess attention has waned. The Living Lands represent an opportunity, a rich but lawless island inhabited by various outcasts. As colonists seek refuge in Paradise, the last safe city, tensions rise with local populations. The land itself seems to resist settlement efforts. A rare godlike individual was born in the Aedyr Empire, touched by divine power in the womb. Though seen as an outsider by many, they found purpose serving the Empire and have now been appointed as an envoy with a critical mission. The Living Lands harbor dark secrets, corrupted soil pulses with mysterious energy, spreading rot and decay. Tendrils of this corruption threaten the Empire itself. The mission is to find and eliminate the source of this darkness. After a shipwreck, the envoy is rescued by Garot, a quarter gunner. They discover their ship was attacked by cannon fire from Fort Northreach, an Aedyr outpost, suggesting something has gone terribly wrong. While exploring the fort, they encounter an imprisoned smuggler named Eora, who describes witnessing the garrison descend into madness and violence. Guards began speaking gibberish before turning on each other in a killing spree. They encounter a deranged survivor whose incoherent ramblings suggest some kind of soul plague has infected the soldiers. The corruption appears to affect both mind and body, driving its victims to violence. A mysterious voice speaks directly to the envoy through the Aedyr, marking them as uniquely gifted. The group manages to escape by boat to Paradise, with Eora warning that this plague must be stopped at all costs. Arriving in Paradise, they meet Captain Cynric of the local militia, who informs them the Aedyr ambassador and Claviger have gone to investigate reports of a blight in the Strangle route beyond Pargrim Wall. Joined by a capable fighter named Kai, the group sets out to locate the missing officials. They encounter and defeat a corrupted bear, finding Ambassador Falchion, who appears relieved at their timely arrival. A tense conversation unfolds about sensitive information that needs to be delivered back at an embassy. There's discussion of a mysterious companion's trustworthiness, followed by mention of a Claviger who is killed by a bear in the increasingly dangerous wilderness. Reports emerge of a dangerous blight and strange corruption spreading through the wilderness toward the city. The ecosystem changes are progressing at an alarming rate. Investigation led to discovery of a maddened creature, confirming rumors of a plague that poses a severe threat to the Living Lands. Mysterious voices call out, beckoning someone to commune with them. The Emperor's trust is referenced, along with discussion of Audra's essence and its potential connection to godlike beings. Caution is advised given the Emperor's investment in the situation. An ancient consciousness awakens, speaking of deep connections to the land through insects and mycelia networks. It recognizes a familiar presence while discussing fractured memories and shared isolation. The entity speaks of being shackled to rot and corruption. The spreading rot is described as an infection invading the heart of the land. The entity offers power to heal in exchange for future favor. After agreement is reached, the entity grants healing abilities before retreating due to exhaustion. Following a miraculous healing event, discussion turns to sensitivity to the spirit world. Reference is made to Inquisitor Ludwine and the Steele-Gerote, with warnings about their autonomy and potential danger. Arrangements are made for safe passage into the city of Paradise. A powerful entity laments imprisonment and speaks of souls trapped beneath the city's surface. It reveals knowledge of a past death by poisoned arrow and offers to help with escape, requesting aid in return for freedom from its own prison. After a dramatic revival that caused a spectacle in the city, discussion centers on visions and the implications of surviving death. Recommendations are made to visit Runed, a watcher who can examine souls while avoiding a charlatan in Hightown. A confrontation occurs with hostile locals concerned about plague carriers and outsiders. The situation escalates into violence after threats are exchanged and attempts at intimidation fail. The story shifts to learning about an Imperial envoy's mission to investigate a plague of the soul. The conversation reveals mounting tensions in Paradise as refugees flood in and military presence increases. The region's history of attracting exiles and dissidents adds to the volatile situation. A poetic reflection on a maritime journey begins, describing the soothing motion of a ship and observations of wood that echoes suffering. There are contemplative musings about a creature that was killed, expressing regret over its death despite its potentially monstrous nature. The narrative weaves together themes of beauty, mortality, and transformation. The scene shifts to discuss emerging conflicts and political tensions. There are references to foreign arrivals coming by ship, described as exiles from distant shores. The narrative explores themes of territorial disputes, comparing them to wolves fighting for territory, while questioning whether the instinct to conquer is inherent. A lost memory emerges, reaching into the past and connecting to the eastern wilds. The scene transitions to a dramatic revelation as someone previously thought dead has survived and is identified as God's envoy. They are recovering at Liviana's clinic, though still feeling unwell. The story reveals official business involving the Emperor, who has named the protagonist as a loyal servant of the Aedyr Empire. The living lands are described as wild, both naturally and politically, with the protagonist becoming central to ongoing troubles. A dream scourge plague threatens cities, adding to political complications. Local tensions escalate with Paradisan rebels, former law-abiding laborers turned fugitives who have attacked soldiers and the protagonist. Inquisitor Ludwine, described as haunting the living lands like a vengeful spirit, demands justice for these actions. A dwarven tracker named Marius is suggested as help. The narrative moves to the grinning Ballarok, where Marius is found drinking. A tense confrontation occurs, revealing Marius' background from the harsh Tusks region. The protagonist is advised to carefully choose allies who will represent the Empire. The investigation of an assassination attempt begins at the town gates. A mysterious poison is discovered, leading the group to seek answers from an apothecary. The scene shifts to the Pearl District, where violence erupts, requiring intervention. The apothecary reveals the poison is oil from Santor berries used in religious rituals. This leads to two potential investigation routes: the Temple of Andra or Claviger Eamon's estate. The group decides to pursue the temple lead, suggesting the assassins might be hiding there. An encounter begins at the Temple of Andra between an Aedyr envoy and someone initially posing as a temple representative. The interaction starts cordially but quickly reveals underlying tensions as the temple figure questions the envoy's presence and makes pointed comments about rebels and outlaws in the city. The facade breaks down as the temple figure reveals their true hostile nature, dropping pretenses and warning the envoy to leave. They threaten violence and claim half the city supports their cause against the Aedyr Empire. The situation escalates into combat with clear intentions to kill the envoy. A dramatic revelation occurs when the assassin recognizes the envoy is still alive, despite having previously killed them. The assassin explains they had received a vision showing the envoy's face under the sign of Ardea, which they interpreted as a divine message to assassinate them. The assassin has a change of heart, believing the envoy's survival must have divine meaning. They express regret over their previous interpretation of the vision and offer to surrender peacefully, leaving their fate in the Envoy's hands. The narrative shifts to exploring deeper spiritual connections and past events. Strange voices discuss the Envoy's choice to show mercy, questioning the decision to forgive someone who caused such pain. The scene transitions to exploring ancient godless ruins. A historical account unfolds about the Akita people and a figure named Gishimao, who led their people to build a great city. The story details their journey from wanderers to city builders, and Gishimao's rise to leadership through divine signs and careful governance. The scene changes to a mystical reading by a watcher who examines the Envoy's soul. Through a ritual, they discover unusual characteristics about the Envoy's spiritual nature and detect an unknown presence connected to them. The watcher reveals their findings. The Envoy's soul is remarkably strong despite recent death, suggesting it was protected rather than passing through normal death processes. They note the absence of typical godlike soul characteristics, instead detecting something mysterious and deeply embedded within. A mystical revelation occurs about a divine intervention at birth where a metaphorical thorn pierced and became embedded in a soul. This unusual blessing or potential curse from an unknown god remains a mystery, as no deity has claimed responsibility for this divine mark. The situation is particularly unique and troubling given the rarity of such godlike interventions. Guidance is offered about following one's path, whether through fate, gods, or personal nature. A specific recommendation is made to commune with Aedyr pillars due to their strong connection to the beyond. The future remains uncertain, but seems destined to be eventful. After receiving cryptic spiritual insights, attention turns to more pressing political matters. Ambassador Heelgard discusses growing tensions with rebels and expresses deep concern about maintaining credibility in the living lands. The failure to capture certain rebels has created vulnerability in their position. A mission is assigned to investigate the Dream Scourge by visiting Fior Messiverno, an expatriate community in Emerald Stair. The controversial involvement of animancers is deemed necessary despite imperial prohibitions against their practices, as their expertise in spirit world matters could prove valuable against the Dream Scourge threat. Inquisitor Ludwine arrives and harshly criticizes the handling of local affairs, particularly the focus on the Dream Scourge, while the island faces broader instability. The confrontation reveals deep divisions in leadership approaches and mounting tensions within the imperial administration. Final preparations are made for the journey to Emerald Stair, with warnings about the complicated relationship between Aedyrians and animancers. The political situation remains precarious, especially regarding Ludwine's unpredictable actions. A mysterious messenger from Paradise delivers cryptic warnings about danger and betrayal, speaking in riddles about steel, earth, flame, and a threatening presence described as a false sheep with hidden shadows. The message emphasizes the need for caution and decisive action. As departure from Paradise approaches, discussions reveal growing tensions between Aedyrians and locals. The Steele-Gerote presence and their harsh methods have created an atmosphere of unease. Additional complications arise from unresolved mysteries about supernatural intervention and the uncertain journey ahead to consult with the animancers. An ancient town founded roughly 50 years ago by a disgraced alien duke and animancers who had grown weary of republic politics. The community consists of nobles, scholars, and common folk, with farmers providing sustenance for the entire island population. Despite their unconventional nature, these academics have proven to be quite difficult to govern. The settlement has managed to keep wilderness at bay through machinery and ingenuity, successfully feeding many in the living lands. However, concerning rumors have emerged about an unnatural blight destroying their crops, presenting a potential crisis for the community. A personal matter involves retrieving an item from a cabin in the woods near Emerald Stair, left behind by an old friend named Tama who has passed away. The area is noted for its unique flora, including the dangerous but beautiful Delum bloom. Plans are made for an expedition requiring experienced guidance through the dangerous terrain. The group dynamics include strict rules about no campfire songs or hugging, though there might be some flexibility regarding the singing restriction. The team prepares for their journey to Emerald Stair. An encounter with Yatzli, a self-proclaimed wizard extraordinaire and godless expert who seeks help retrieving a vase from atop a tower in nearby ruins. Despite alternative solutions being available, there is insistence on exploring the ancient ruins. Captain Alfair of the Steele-Gerote arrives with warnings about Governor Vidaro, highlighting tensions between Valiant Animancy practitioners and Aedyr interests. The situation suggests brewing conflict between diplomatic approaches and military solutions. A heated confrontation erupts over the Dream Scourge crisis, with clear evidence of crop destruction and environmental degradation. The situation reveals deep divisions between those acknowledging the threat and those in positions of authority who resist taking action. The conflict reaches a breaking point, with Chiata Castel being banished from Fior Messaverno by the governor, despite being their most brilliant animancer. This decision creates further discord within the community during an already critical period. The scene concludes with plans to investigate the Dream Scourge through collaboration with various animancers around town, including Monto Pastor, Elio Rossell, and the philosophers Yvette and Remy. Each holds crucial information about the mysterious phenomenon threatening their lands. A group encounters and examines a godlike being with great curiosity. The conversation reveals both fascination and prejudice as they debate whether godlike are blessed or cursed by the gods. The researchers treat the godlike being more like a specimen than a person, asking probing questions about reincarnation, divine connection, and reproduction limitations. The discussion turns to the Dream Scourge, a metaphysical disaster that requires special study methods. It cannot be examined solely in labs, but must be studied in the wild near Aedyr pillars due to its connection to essence. There are warnings about tracing essence tethers back to their source, as this could prove fatal if not done carefully. The scene shifts to a corpse farm where reanimated corpses serve as labor. A particular revenant named Beatrice is experiencing problems related to blight. The Dream Scourge is discovered to be interfering with animancy and unraveling magical work, providing new research directions about the plague's effects on undead beings. At Emerald's there, discussion centers on Chiata Castel's research and Governor Vidaro's actions. A revenant named Silvo needs to be put down, leading to a confrontation. The situation highlights the emotional complexity of managing undead workers and the challenges faced by those practicing unconventional farming methods. Analysis reveals the Dream Scourge's ancient origins, possibly as old as the living lands themselves. The essence in these lands differs from other regions, connecting various phenomena, including exotic flora, fauna, and the twisted landscape. This suggests a common source for all these unusual manifestations. The narrative moves to a workshop where advanced research equipment requires more power. An Aedyr heart is proposed as a solution, leading to a quest to retrieve it from a western grove controlled by a Delemgan queen. The possibility of peaceful negotiation is suggested, though with caution about the hostile nature of local Delemgans. A tense encounter unfolds with the Delemgan queen, initially peaceful but turning violent after recognition of past conflicts. This leads to an intense battle over the Aedyr heart, demonstrating the complex political and territorial dynamics of the region. The segment involves soul examination using the newly powered equipment. Through careful questioning and metaphysical testing, an unusual soul structure is revealed, showing perfect balance but also mysterious entanglements with an outside presence. The examination provides new insights into both godlike nature and war-related soul trauma. A concerning discussion reveals that local farms are experiencing a mysterious draining of essence from the land. Despite the risks involved, there is determination to investigate where this diverted essence is flowing, as it cannot simply vanish. The situation appears dire enough that exile is mentioned as a potential consequence of pursuing this matter. A complex operation involving multiple parties is underway. Montauk's machine helps nullify spiritual interference, Ilia monitors revenants, while Yvette and Remy provide cover. The coordination of these elements proves critical for conducting animancy research without detection. The setup ensures there will be no false signals or interference from farmhands when working with Aedyr pillars. A crucial invention called the phantasmal focus, inherited from deceased parents, needs to be retrieved from a basement that has remained sealed since their tragic passing. The basement holds dark memories and has been deliberately avoided, necessitating outside help to recover this vital piece of equipment. The basement reveals a horrific discovery, people seemingly transformed into plants, creating an unsettling scene that suggests a terrible fate befell the parents during their experiments with the essence of living lands. This disturbing revelation provides context for the earlier reluctance to enter the space. With the phantasmal focus recovered, attention turns to the next objective, finding an ideal Aedyr pillar at Naku to deck, an old godless ruin to the west. The focus will enable direct access to the essence of the living lands, marking significant progress in the investigation. Preparations begin at the Aedyr pillar site, using the phantasmal focus to probe for the dream Scourge. The process involves carefully modulating ethereal vibrations to detect anomalies, leading to the unexpected manifestation of a mysterious door rather than the anticipated target. A powerful entity reveals itself, identifying as Savadol, an ancient being once known as the gardener and steward of life. It speaks of a deep connection to the land and its people from centuries past, expressing joy at finding new contact after long isolation. Savadol warns of a spreading rot and requests help, directing attention to its prison beyond the poison sea in the halls of the Tabursinakis. The entity offers power to aid in this quest, suggesting the chosen of the Akita will guide the way to the garden where it is imprisoned. After regaining consciousness from an extended blackout, analysis of the dream Scourge reveals its origin in the center of the living lands, deep within untouched wilderness. This discovery aligns with the mysterious garden mentioned earlier, suggesting a potential way to address the dream Scourge at its source. A mysterious spiritual energy was encountered through communion with an entity connected to the dream Scourge. This entity was revealed to be Sopadol, a trapped god whose presence was previously unknown. The revelation that a god could have been missed raises significant questions about the nature of reality in this world. The Aedyr network forms an intricate connection throughout the land, though it became severed when animancers arrived in the living lands. This isolation created a prison or tomb for Sopadol, who communicates through the Aedyr. The entity may hold crucial information about combating the approaching Dream Scourge threat, which originates from a mysterious garden. A devastating realization emerges about the Dream Scourge's impact on animancy and the living lands. The situation appears dire enough that abandoning the area seems necessary. However, before any action can be taken, disturbing visions arise of destruction, including black rice fields and trampled farmlands. A catastrophic event unfolds as the city burns, revealing that recent deaths were not accidents. The destruction forces an evacuation toward farms north of town. The workshop burns, destroying irreplaceable inventions and equipment from the Valian republics, representing both material and emotional losses for the community. Cryptic messages emerge about transformation and eternal life, speaking of endless spring and beings becoming stronger than their original forms. These philosophical musings hint at profound changes occurring in the natural order, suggesting a conflict between mortality and eternal existence. The aftermath of the destruction brings survivors together seeking leadership. Political tensions surface as accusations fly about responsibility for the attack. The Steele-Gerote forces are identified as the attackers, suggesting a broader conflict with significant implications for the region's future. A crucial revelation emerges about an ecological and spiritual disaster threatening the living lands. The discovery of an unknown god at the island's heart complicates efforts to address the Dream Scourge. Debates arise about whether to relocate to Thirdborn or Paradise, with varying opinions on the best strategy for survival. A scholar named Yatsli offers guidance to a location called Naku Kubel in Shatterscarp, which may hold answers about the garden. This development provides hope for understanding the crisis, though time appears to be running short as others also seek this knowledge. The narrative culminates in a tense confrontation, revealing deeper political machinations. The Steele-Gerote and Inquisitor Ludwine emerge as significant antagonists, having orchestrated the destruction of Fuel Messi Verno. Their actions suggest a calculated effort to reshape the living lands according to their vision. A tense confrontation reveals that the Steele-Gerote answers to the burned queen, not the Empire. There are plans to break from Aedyr if necessary. The speaker warns that Inquisitor Ludwine sees potential in the Envoy and wants to cultivate it. The Steele-Gerote's grip on the island will intensify despite potential loss of allies. The speaker reveals knowledge of plans to visit Shatterscarp and admits to eliminating rangers who were in the way. A letter is provided to be delivered to Temerty from Inquisitor Ludwine. The encounter ends with ominous warnings about future meetings. The visit to Emerald Stair has left more questions than answers about fighting the Dream Scourge, dealing with Sopadol, locating the garden, and understanding why the Steele-Gerote destroyed Fjormur Severna. There is a strong sentiment of never forgiving this destruction. Thirdborn is described as a rugged place populated by diverse groups including Rohwaians, military washouts, pirates, and free spirits. Reports indicate mysterious occurrences there, strange dreams, disappearances, and people returning changed or corrupted. The group discusses finding the garden, acknowledging time constraints. They consider seeking help from Yatsli, an expert in mysteries, and attempt to communicate with Savadol about the garden, though this proves unsuccessful. A spiritual encounter occurs, recounting the story of Nimana, a gifted individual who could communicate with spirits. The tale describes their journey to high places, communion with higher powers, and a tragic incident where their village was destroyed. The narrative shifts to a bloody confrontation with dream thralls. Many casualties are reported, affecting both Aedyrians and locals. The situation in Thirdborn is deteriorating with increasing cases of illness and transformation into dream thralls. Tensions rise in the city as it faces attacks. The relationship between Aedyrians and locals is strained, particularly due to rumors about events in 4. Despite mutual distrust, some cooperation emerges in facing common threats. A tense situation unfolds as guards discuss managing entry into Thirdborn. The Tyrannoi are maintaining law and order while dealing with losses throughout the community. There's mention of clearing corpses and taking necessary precautions, highlighting the dire state of affairs. The settlement appears to be struggling with maintaining order amid challenging circumstances. A confrontation occurs regarding an Aedyrian envoy's presence in Thirdborn. Discussion reveals that a settlement called Emerald Stair was burned and valuable research was stolen. The situation is complicated by ongoing attacks from Droom thralls and resource shortages at Eagle's Reach, leading to heightened tensions among leadership. It's revealed that Ludwine seeks control of the Nakuku Bell ruins, threatening Steele-Gerote's wrath if denied. However, access to the ruins is blocked by a magical barrier created by Archmage Ringgrim, who has transformed the area into an impenetrable ice wasteland. the presence of this powerful mage has caused significant concern. Plans are made to seek out Archmage Ringgrim, located east past the Pargwin ruins. The mission is acknowledged as dangerous, with preparations needed before confronting such a powerful figure. The group arranges to meet at the tavern to properly equip themselves for this challenging encounter. A poignant discovery of Thomas' badge leads to reminiscence about military service in Roatai's navy. Memories surface of desert marches, challenging conditions, and camaraderie among soldiers. The badge serves as a powerful reminder of their shared past and experiences. At Thomas's memorial site, deep emotions surface about his death. A confession reveals guilt over abandoning Thomas in his final moments. The speaker acknowledges avoiding Thirdborn and Emerald Stair due to this past action, expressing difficulty in forming lasting connections due to fear of letting others down. The focus shifts to preparing for an encounter with Archmage Ringgrim of the Circle of Archmage. The discussion emphasizes the significance of finding such a powerful mage at Nakuku Bell, suggesting important secrets within the godless ruins. Plans are made to approach carefully with a small group to avoid drawing attention. A poetic description unfolds about seeds of change spreading across barren land, with imagery of unwanted ones sprouting and soil yearning for its natural state. The narrative speaks of the land rejecting cities and desiring the return of kestrel song and stillness. The imagery suggests a cycle of death and rebirth, with death nourishing the soil and all things emerging from decay. The scene shifts to explorers encountering an Archmage's domain. The environment is described as surreal and magnificent, with evidence of Ringgrim's presence through elaborate ice corpses displaying remarkable artistic finesse. There are warnings about dealing carefully with Ringgrim, as the location emanates an unsettling atmosphere. The group discovers Ringgrim is using clever illusion spells to deter visitors, though they remain unaffected. A character recalls successfully countering similar spells before at a university to access restricted research materials. The environment grows increasingly cold and eerie as they progress. Ringgrim makes her presence known through a cryptic interaction, challenging visitors with puzzles and tales. A story emerges about a village protected by a magical statue that eventually shattered, leading to the village's downfall when they couldn't decide how to restore it. This serves as both warning and test. The group encounters an emotional illusion of a villager desperately clinging to an Aedyr piece, revealing the tragic consequences of individual choices affecting an entire community. The scene demonstrates the moral complexity of survival versus collective good. Upon reaching Ringgrim, she reveals her interest in studying the dream scourge plague affecting the living lands. She discovers a unique connection between a godlike visitor and the sealed ruins of Nakukubel, theorizing about trapped gods and essence disturbances. This revelation prompts her to grant access to the ruins. The encounter concludes with Ringgrim providing directions to the Deadfall Highlands in the northwest, where the ruins lie. She gives her grimoire to a character named Orlin, recognizing their magical talent. The group departs via teleporter, processing their surprising success in gaining both access to the ruins and an Archmage's respect. A group ventures into ancient ruins in search of a mysterious garden. They need to move quickly to stay ahead of someone named Ludwine. The ruins, known as Nagu Kubel, hold secrets about the vanished godless civilization that built them. Upon entering, they discover metal corpses identified as magfolk, common in godless ruins, but distinctly different from the godless themselves. The group encounters an Aedyr ghost named Numena, who serves as guardian of the ruins. Numena recounts how the magfolk invaded in overwhelming numbers, destroying Aedyr temples, killing their king, and systematically erasing their history and culture. The ghost reveals that their god, known as the Gardener, was trapped during this conflict. Numena announces that visitors must prove themselves through trials to reach the garden. The trials consist of tests of strength against ancient dead, followed by challenges of wit and wisdom. Each trial must be completed to earn passage forward. After completing initial trials, the group faces increasingly hostile spirits who recognize a gardener's mark on one of them. Despite completing the challenges, the spirits become antagonistic, fearing the visitors might provoke another calamity through the gardener. Upon defeating the spirits, they discover an ancient Aedyr device serving as a map. The map reveals the location of important sites, including directions to something called Galawain's Tusks, where an entrance to the garden can be found through a godless tower on the southern coast. The gardener communicates directly, expressing confusion over the spirit's rejection and recounting a complex history with the Aedyrs. The conversation becomes increasingly fragmented and distressed, ending abruptly when an intruder approaches. A new antagonist arrives, viewing the ruins as a source of dream scourge that must be destroyed. They offer an alliance to strike against both the Dream Scourge and Sopadol, presenting the choice between preservation and destruction of the ancient site. The situation escalates into a tense standoff between those who would protect the ruins and those seeking to burn them. A tense discussion unfolds about dealing with the Dream Scourge plague in Shatterscarp. A proposal emerges to sever the connection between the Aedyr in the ruins and the living lands, which would stop new dream thralls from being created, though existing ones would remain. The proposed solution requires an immense amount of essence that will result in multiple deaths, including Quilichi and other Furians. They would experience a painless death, described as a gentle sleep leading to the Garden of Night. A heated debate ensues about the ethics of this solution. While some see it as a necessary evil to stop the Dream Scourge from spreading, others view it as monstrous to sacrifice innocent lives. Arguments compare this to amputating a necrotic limb. The conversation shifts to discussions of devotion and divine influence. Questions arise about autonomy in decision-making and the true nature of loyalty, particularly regarding Sopadol's influence and demands. The decision is made to proceed with the plan. The process requires attunement to Savadol and focus on the Aedyr, with multiple participants needed to complete the ritual. After the ritual, satisfaction is expressed about dealing with the Dream Scourge, though cleanup remains necessary. An apprenticeship offer is extended to Yatsley, who shows promising magical talent. The aftermath reveals 36 people dead from apparent heart failure. This leads to intense confrontation and accusations about the devastating cost of the decision. Relationships become strained as the impact becomes clear. Discussion turns to future challenges, including potential conflict with Ludwine and the quest for the garden. Despite the heavy toll, focus shifts to preventing the Dream Scourge from spreading further. The path forward involves traversing Galawain's Tusks, a dangerous region of lava and acid. This sparks debate about the wisdom of the journey and trust in divine guidance. A tense standoff situation unfolds with mentions of withdrawal, blood, and smoke. There is resistance from a group refusing to stand down completely, though their leader agrees to do so. An envoy figure appears to be central to this confrontation. The scene shifts to a search for a mysterious garden located on an island with a glowing tree. Access proves challenging due to obstacles including acid waters and broken bridges. The group determines they need to find an alternate route and decides to seek information at Solace Keep. Upon arrival at Solace Keep, the group encounters strict entry protocols based on Nandris 9 creeds, which forbid outsiders without proper permission from either the council or an honored warden. This leads to complications with their entry attempt. The narrative takes on a poetic turn, with metaphorical descriptions of natural phenomena and philosophical musings about trust, betrayal, and the cyclical nature of relationships, comparing them to the changing seasons and lasting bonds. A dramatic reunion occurs between Marius and Cosmin, revealing a 3-year absence that caused strain in their friendship. Despite initial tension, Cosmin eventually agrees to help due to an urgent threat to Salis Keep, though with clear reservations. A heated discussion ensues about the threat of the Steele-Gerote, who previously destroyed a city of animancers. The council dismisses the danger, confident in their fortifications, while others warn of impending doom. Past events in Shatterscarp raise questions about trust. Discussion turns to the Sacred Garden and its connection to Nandru, noting similarities between the Envoy and their founder. Despite these parallels, the Council maintains their stance against helping outsiders access the garden, citing fallen bridges and lost pathways. A private conversation reveals internal strife within Salis Keep. Resource shortages, illness, and suffering plague the population, while leadership maintains rigid adherence to traditional doctrine. This creates tension between practical needs and religious devotion. The situation culminates in a shocking proposal to trade Salis Keep to Aedyr and the Steele-Gerote in exchange for goods and gold. This suggestion comes from desperation to save the people, even at the cost of abandoning their sacred traditions and home. A complex discussion unfolds about a potential alliance between two peoples. Despite concerns about treachery, one side maintains their honest intention to save their people from deprivation and external threats. They acknowledge the risk, but believe attempting a foolish plan is better than cowardly inaction. Information is shared about the Steele-Gerote location at Mount Forger Mines, accessible by heading west across the primordial depths. The potential for a beneficial alliance between the Pargrunin and Aedyrians is discussed, with emphasis on avoiding unnecessary bloodshed. A request is made to check on the Living Archives, a monastery dedicated to preserving history, which hasn't been in contact recently. The monastery lies north of Salis Keep along the main road, though Zarabs pose a threat along the route. Elder Grigor is identified as the contact person. Internal conflict emerges within Salis Keep as residents debate survival strategies. Some view the keep as protection, while others, influenced by Koste, see it as a death trap. This creates tension between traditional isolationists and those seeking outside help. A disturbing encounter occurs with Captain Alfir, who appears mentally unstable, speaking in riddles and expressing fear of visions. The situation escalates into conflict, highlighting the deteriorating conditions affecting the population. Evidence of hasty abandonment by the Steele-Gerote is discovered, along with maps marking Salis Keep. Discussion centers on the possibility of a hidden path to the garden beneath the keep, suggesting betrayal from within the Pargrunin. A confrontation reveals the Dream Scourge as a weapon, with implications of divine conflict. The situation presents a choice between personal judgment and divine influence, with serious consequences for the living lands. Desperate pleas for help emerge amidst descriptions of imprisonment and suffering. The narrative reveals a cycle of violence and pain, with parasites threatening destruction and rot spreading throughout the land. A tragic history unfolds about rejection by other gods and subsequent violent reactions. The story reveals deep wounds from past conflicts and misunderstandings, leading to cycles of revenge and destruction. The situation reaches a crisis point with a volcanic eruption at Forha, forcing evacuation of the keep. Koste attempts to manage the emergency by opening long disused lava sluice gates, creating urgent danger for the inhabitants. A tense situation unfolds as lava flows threaten to overrun an area. The people must evacuate quickly while dealing with the threat of the Steele-Gerote, who had planned to storm the keep. Information emerges about a path beneath the keep and sluice gates designed by Nondru to direct lava flows away from danger. A betrayal comes to light involving Koste, who apparently revealed secrets about the garden to the Steele-Gerote, breaking a sacred oath to Nantro. This revelation deeply impacts those who maintain their duty to protect these ancient secrets. The situation becomes more complicated with concerns about Koste's intentions regarding the sluice gates. A confrontation occurs regarding the keep's fate. Someone aims to destroy mechanisms controlling important gates, believing the keep's destruction would free people from ancient oaths that bind them to this location. They argue that their people were originally nomads and should return to that way of life rather than being confined to one place. A heated debate ensues about the authority to determine a settlement's fate. Questions arise about personal freedom versus communal responsibility, with some arguing that destroying Solace freed people, while others contend it robbed residents of their choice to stay. The discussion reveals deeper tensions about self-determination versus external control. Devastating news about the keep's destruction leads to intense emotional reactions. Lives are lost, including Koste, leaving survivors to grapple with grief and responsibility. The loss represents more than just physical destruction. It symbolizes the end of an era and way of life for many people. The group faces multiple challenges ahead, including political tensions, threats from the Steele-Gerote, and concerns about their leader, who seems impossible to permanently defeat. They must also deal with an impending imperial threat while preparing to enter the mysterious garden. Discussion turns to theories about the garden, described as both physical and spiritual realm. The long imprisonment of Savadol suggests possibility of encountering visions and hallucinations within. The group debates the implications of freeing Savadol, considering the potential consequences for the spiritual health of the living lands. The narrative shifts to a more mystical tone, with descriptions of spiritual pressure and darkness. Despite challenges, there is mention of defied expectations and strange imagery like green skies and air-breathing fish, suggesting a transition into an otherworldly realm. A poetic opening describes a longing for freedom and connection to nature, with imagery of running with tides and touching earth. There are hints of restraint and oppression, with references to hands clasped around throats, despite speaking of freedom. The tone is wistful, yet tinged with underlying darkness. An encounter with Mordana, the goddess of order and vengeance, takes place. She speaks with disdain through prison bars, claiming authority over Eora and questioning the tampering with powerful forces. The scene establishes tension between order and chaos, with Mordana positioning herself as a protector against destructive elements. Mordana reveals how gods contained a dangerous power that was seeping through the land. She describes failed attempts to reason with followers of this force, leading to conflict. The goddess presents herself as a necessary authority, maintaining order against entropy and chaos. A profound emotional scene unfolds involving memories of someone named Tama. The observer struggles to reconcile their memories of Tama, seeing him as both familiar and strange, with his features constantly shifting. This represents a meditation on how memories change and blur over time. A revelation occurs involving the godlike of Sopadol and Chiata Castel. Ancient spirits reveal connections to Chiata's mother through a phantasmal focus, explaining past events that transformed her family. The truth about Sopadol's destructive power and its unintentional harm comes to light. The nature of the spirits is revealed as animates, beings fashioned from dreams and memories by Sopadol. This discovery leads to a poignant moment of forgiveness as Chiata accepts an apology for past wrongs, recognizing Sopadol's isolation and confusion. The group pauses for reflection before an impending battle. Various members express their feelings of anticipation, anxiety, and readiness. The conversation highlights how far they've come and the bonds formed through their shared journey. There is a reflection on the protagonist's journey, surviving shipwrecks, assassins, gods, and bureaucrats while maintaining resilience. The group acknowledges their leader's strength and ability to keep everyone united despite countless challenges. Despite leaving behind conflicts and challenges in various lands, there's a brief moment of respite on a floating island outside reality. The group acknowledges they could use some rest before facing future battles, though serious matters still need discussion. The scene shifts to Savadol's cage in the heart of the garden. A powerful entity speaks of its past glory, imprisonment by other gods, and current suffering. It seeks freedom and expresses desire for peace and regeneration, emphasizing its capacity for change. The group suddenly returns to Dawn Shore, finding significant changes including massive root growth and various factions gathered for conflict. Multiple groups including Steele-Gerote, Ringgrim, and Blessed Day Wardens have assembled, suggesting weeks have passed. Upon return, they explain about Sopadol's responsibility for the Dream Scourge. While new infections will cease, existing cases cannot be cured. Discussions arise about the nature of gods in the living lands and the implications of freeing Sopadol. Attention turns to immediate threats as Steele-Gerote attacks Paradise. Inquisitor Ludwine leads the assault, proving formidable despite previous encounters. The situation in Paradise grows dire, with southern sections destroyed and militia struggling against the gates. The Siege of Paradise creates a humanitarian crisis with food and water shortages imminent. Various factions have limited forces to help, having been weakened by previous conflicts. Leadership disagreements hamper coordinated resistance against the Steele-Gerote. A tense discussion unfolds regarding an oath to Watika and the Steele-Gerote. The conversation revolves around a 7-foot-tall skeleton powered by devotion to the goddess of retribution, with accusations flying about who bears responsibility for failing to stop certain actions. The situation escalates as the Inquisitor's vision for the living lands is revealed. One people, one law, one true God. This has inadvertently united the living lands against Aedyr. Discussion continues about order, dignity, and the Empire's methods of control. Ludwine has informed the Emperor of her attack, with reinforcements expected soon. The group must decide between becoming a new colony or facing other consequences. The frontier faces a crucial turning point, with Aedyr already establishing presence. A decision is reached to make Paradise a colony of Aedyr. However, Ludwine and the Steele-Gerote remain a significant threat that must be eliminated to preserve both Paradise and the island. The group prepares for a final confrontation. The final confrontation with Ludwine begins. She remains committed to imposing order through force rather than compromise, leading to an inevitable clash. The battle commences with both sides prepared for a decisive engagement. Victory is achieved as silence falls over Paradise, followed by celebratory bells and cheers. The conflict ends with the dust settling on a short but bloody battle. The city rallies behind their defender in this crucial moment. The aftermath reveals the Dream Scourge is over and the island has been cleansed of plague. A period of healing and mourning begins as people seek answers about the affliction's source. The truth about powers beyond mortal understanding is shared. The Living Lands transitions into an Aedyr Empire colony, bringing new government and imperial law. Various factions adapt differently. Rebels remain in wilderness, refugees resettle in Thirdborn, and some cities lay in ruins while others rebuild. Individual stories unfold in the aftermath. Kai returns home to help rebuild Thirdborn. Marius becomes a guide between settlements. Lada continues her Animancer work with new perspective. Each character finds their path forward in the changed landscape. The final developments show Sopadol freed from centuries of torment, now observing and learning about people with genuine curiosity. Though violence still exists, rage no longer rules. They begin gardening and working to improve lives where possible, marking a new chapter in the region's history. The emotional journey reaches a profound moment where intense grief transforms into an extraordinary capacity for love. This love manifests with divine-like strength and depth, transcending ordinary human bounds. The raw emotional power creates an almost supernatural quality to their ability to care and connect.